This is a story about the dark side of science, the horrifying, unethical psychological experiments that shattered lives and left scars on humanity's conscience. Behind the guise of progress lurked a chilling question. How far would someone go in the name of discovery? In the 1960s, Dr. Heinrich Voss had one mission: to understand the fragility of human behavior. His experiments weren't about healing, they were about breaking. Voss believed the human mind was nothing more than a machine, and he was determined to find its breaking point. In a dimly lit basement, his volunteers sat strapped to chairs, surrounded by endless mirrors. Day and night became indistinguishable under the relentless glare of artificial light. White walls, white floors. It was a prison dressed as a laboratory. The first experiment tested obedience. Participants were ordered to administer what they believed were lethal electric shocks to unseen subjects. Their hands trembled, tears streamed down their faces, but most pressed the button when Voss barked his commands. "How weak we are," he whispered to his assistant. "How eager to bow to authority." Next came isolation. Voss placed subjects in soundproof rooms, fed them bland food at irregular intervals, and deprived them of sleep. Days stretched into weeks. The mirrors showed them only their deteriorating faces, pale and gaunt. People began to hallucinate. Shadows moved in corners. Voices whispered from the walls. One participant clawed at the walls until their nails bled, screaming, "I'm not real! None of this is real!" Voss simply scribbled notes. The memory scramble test was the most diabolical. Voss manipulated timelines, convincing subjects they had committed crimes they didn't remember. He showed fabricated video footage of them stealing, hurting loved ones, even killing. At first they resisted. "I would never do that," they cried. But as the lies piled up, their minds cracked. They began to confess to the imaginary crimes. One man sobbed uncontrollably, begging for forgiveness from a family he hadn't harmed. Through it all, Voss remained detached. "They're just subjects," he said coldly. "The mind is clay. You can shape it into anything or break it entirely." The experiment's undoing came when a young journalist infiltrated the study under the guise of a volunteer. By the time she escaped, she was a shadow of herself, haunted by the psychological torment she endured. But her story made headlines, exposing the horrors hidden beneath the respectable veneer of scientific inquiry. The aftermath was chaos. Voss disappeared, his name erased from academic records, but rumors swirled. Some said he fled to another country, continuing his experiments in secret. Others claimed he became a victim of his own work, lost in a web of guilt and madness. The ethical outrage that followed didn't erase the scars left behind. Survivors struggled to rebuild their lives, but many couldn't escape the voices, the memories, the overwhelming fear that they had permanently lost control of their minds. And the chilling part, Voss wasn't the only one. Throughout history, other unethical studies, like the Stanford prison experiment and MK Ultra, have shown how easily we justify cruelty in the name of progress. Sometimes, the most terrifying monsters aren't found in nightmares. They wear lab coats and call it research.